All right, I see that we have our speakers available and they are able to speak now. So could you please unmute and preferably put on your video and let's have a look at you and hear from you. In 1 minute, please introduce yourself. I would like Lesley to start that, please. Start the ball rolling. So Lesley, if you can hear me. Hi, Lesley. It's good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. My name is Lesley Osei. I'm a pastor. I'm a wife, a mother of 6, and I'm a global advocate for women. I have a few initiatives and institutions where we promote the building of power when it comes to women economically, socially, and also through giving them opportunities, grants, et cetera, just to make sure that the woman is evolving past just being able to pay for something, but now entering a space of ownership. And so we invest in women.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Lesley. Can I have Nicole come on board and introduce herself? Nicole, if you can hear me, kindly unmute. Let's see you and let's hear from you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Adesuwa. My name is Nicolette Ndigwe Kalu. I'm a filmmaker and a studio executive at HB&Q Impressions, which I founded. Basically, it's a film studio that's focusing on creating films that sell Africans in the best light possible. And we have a film that's coming to cinemas in a few months, in 3 months, July. So watch out for that. I'm an Elevate Africa alumna, and I also run a boutique tour company called Naija Trotter, and basically we offer very well curated experiences of big African cities to the diaspora audience or visitors of Africa. So thank you so much. I also run an NGO. It's focused on the eradication of child and maternal mortality that's attributable to homelessness and hunger and malaria. It's called MACME, and I started that in 2018. So thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
You're most welcome, Nicole. That's amazing. Thank you so much. So in 1 minute, can we just get to know you a little bit? Can the audience know who you are, the essence of Jason?
Absolutely. Now that we've got through the technical difficulties, first, I'd like to thank you, Adesuwa, for hosting and moderating this webinar, and to all the other panelists for being here and everybody in the room. My name is Jason Koch. I'm managing partner and co-founder of Global Venture Partners. We're a Pan-African investment firm. We operate across media, infrastructure, and financial services between the Middle East and Africa. We scale platforms like Time Africa, Rolling Stone MENA, Billboard Africa, and Robert Board Africa, with a focus on shaping the narrative across the continent.
That's amazing. Thank you very much, Jason. That's amazing. Thank you very much, Jason. So there's still some technical issues with Adesuwa coming on board, but we'll just wait for her for a little bit and she'll be here soon. Thank you. All right, so I guess I could just start with Lesley, since Lesley and Nicole and Jason are here. Hopefully Adesuwa will join us very soon. Considering what you do as a woman's advocate, I'm also glad that I got you on board, because there's so much I'm sure you can share with us. You come across entrepreneurs and women who have gone through so much and trying to get their lives and build their lives back, I'm sure. So I want you to explain to us and just give us an overview of what it means to build her power, touching on the theme, your power. For those of us listening and wondering, what exactly does that mean? Could you just give us an insight into what you, from your experience, from your vast experience, what does it mean to build your power?
You're
mute, ma'am. You're mute. Yeah.
My apologies. So when we talk about a woman building her power, we're not just talking about confidence. We're not just talking about visibility. We're not just talking about even success. What we're talking about is a woman's ability to influence another woman, another nation. And of course, we all talk about economic power. And so when we're building power, it's beyond just what success looks like to the average person, but it's also a mind shift, because far too long we have been taught that women ought to be quiet and women cannot be decision makers. And, women should just earn a paycheck. I think we've evolved from not earning a paycheck to just earning a paycheck. And when we talk about building your power, it's moving from the idea of just earned income to now being able to own and to bring others along and to be able to really influence another person, not just a woman. It's building your power is entrepreneurship, it's real estate, it's licensing, it's investing, it's all these different things. And so when it comes to building your power, I thoroughly believe that it goes beyond just saying that I can make money, but it's also being able to influence and bring other people along as well too. So.
I see that Adesuwa has entered the room. Adesuwa, can you please introduce a feel of who you are and get to know you?
Hi, can you hear me now? Can everyone hear me? Okay, great.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. I think we were having some technical issues, but it's great to be here. So I'm Adesuwa Okunbo Rhodes. I'm the founder of Aruwa Capital Management. We are a private equity fund that invests in female-led, female-focused, and female-founded businesses in West Africa. So we're very passionate about closing the $42 billion gender funding gap that we have in Africa, where less than 2% of capital is going to female entrepreneurs. So we are one of the few women-owned and managed private equity funds on the continent, specifically investing with the gender lens to address that funding gap and really showcase the untapped potential of women as leaders, as managers, as board members, as consumers. We think that it provides us with a very unique edge as we invest as women to invest with this gender lens. We now manage about $80 million. We have about 15 companies in our portfolio. 70% of them are women-owned or women-founded. And we've really been able to validate this thesis that investing in women is not charity. It is a strategic competitive advantage where you can invest to yield significant financial return, but also multipliers with regards to social impact because of the role women play. So happy to be here and getting into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adesuwa. Before you came in,
we can't hear you if you're speaking. Is that just me?
Asked Lesley. I had asked her the first question about what it meant to for a woman to. Can anyone hear me? Because I'm speaking. Can you hear me, Adesuwa? Can anyone else hear me? Thumbs up? No?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but it was breaking quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't know if that was me.
Okay. All right. So in your introduction, I had, like I said, can you hear me now? Yes, you can. All right, great. Thank you. So I had asked Lesley at the beginning of the conversation what it meant for a woman to build her power. And hearing your introduction, I'm just curious as to what you think about that. What does it mean? What's your take on building her power?
Yeah, so I think for me, just kind of using my own experience as an example, I always say that as women, we shouldn't be asking for a seat at the table. We should be creating our own tables. So for me, power and building wealth is about not asking for permission to participate, but creating your own platform, creating your own space, creating your own solution out of a lived problem, lived experience, where you can build institutions, build platforms that can positively impact women and make the journey easier for the women that are coming behind you. Because in our business, I think that power really comes when you have the ability to make decisions. There are a lot of, I would say, figureheads in our business, but from what we believe, until we address that imbalance of who's actually making the investment decisions, who's actually has the ability to write checks, who has the ability to allocate capital, then you can't influence society. So it's one thing to give grants to women, but if you can have more women that actually are the ones deciding who gets the grants, then I think that's where the power imbalance can shift. So for me, it's about who has the ability to make decisions, who is building the platforms for women, who gets to decide the types of programs that are being built for women. I think that's when we would see real power in being able to shift these systemic barriers that prevent women businesses from getting access to capital, from scaling. So that's kind of our take at Aruwa. And that's why, I set out 6 years ago to build a fund specifically designed for women.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for saying that. So I hear you said, don't wait to get on the table, build the table. So that just basically means taking the reins and taking control of your own destiny, your own life, and all of that. So that's wonderful. And I will come back to you because you mentioned in your introduction, you said you gave some staggering figures that alarmed me a little bit, and I'll come back to you on that. Jason, it'll be interesting to hear your take on what you think building her power means as a man, as a man looking from the outside, looking at a woman. What is your take on that? What do you think building her power means? Building power. Jason, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay, fantastic.
Yes, I can hear you.
I would generally, I would mirror Adesuwa's sentiment. I think the first step is ownership, in my humble opinion. Whether that's a business or a platform or even just a strong network, build something that gives you leverage, right? So people need to work with you and not the other way around. And then over time, you develop over time value. Working together, building each other up. Strong networks of women supporting each other will accelerate growth much faster. Women support, and it's just as I think about what we just said, I think it's also very key and very important for amazing women like such as the women we have in the panel. We're kicking down doors. And keep those doors open for women and young entrepreneurs and young leaders who are coming behind you. So again, I think utilization of a strong network and to be able to create something that you own and have ownership in.
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So building networks, which is very important. and creating your own, just basically similar to what Adesuwa touched on when she said building your own table, creating your own table. So thank you so much for that. Nicole, if you're there, yes, you still are there. Thank you for, could you please tell us a little bit about, I would like to hear a little bit more from you in terms of building her power. We've heard different perspectives, but I would also like you, being a filmmaker, to tell the story about how you built your own power. Tell us what building her power means to you, and you could add your own story to that, something that maybe perhaps, well, you talked about a film coming out in July, so tell us a little bit about how you walked through that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for pivoting the question a little as well, because I felt like everybody really said amazing stuff. Everybody spoke my mind already. If I was going to say anything else, I would take it from the angle of, three key things that has stood out for me really in my journey. And one is, of course, I think a woman building her power, in addition to everything that has already been said, is influence, is knowledge, is choices. And influence, everybody has spoken about. Knowledge is just that ability to become the better version of who you were yesterday. I think that that's you building your power, because the truth is that you can only strive to become better than who you were before. You might have people who inspire you, who you want to be like, but the truth is that the only way you can build something is by saying, I will be better than who I was yesterday. I remember a post that Adesuwa made on social media, and I actually reached out to her and I said, this is so powerful and it inspired me so much, and I wish that many people would get to see this, because she talked about being 26 and seeing someone who she admired and who, just paraphrasing, someone who was doing great stuff that she hoped to be doing, and she walked up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, saying, I'm trying to do this in Africa. And I think I don't know if it was up to 10 years later, and she's at a conference and she's on the same panel with this person. And I felt like, that's in the entirety, of building your power, of becoming the best version of who you were yesterday, because it's saying, this is the dream. This is where we want to be. And we're going to keep working day in, day out, whatever it takes to become that. And I think the next thing is choices, giving yourself and other women a choice. Life is about choices. And sometimes we make the ones that mar us because we don't have power, whether it's economic power, whether it's, soft power, whatever it is. And people have been pushed into corners because they couldn't make choices that would favor their journeys and, their own lives and all of that. So I think that building your power is being able to give yourself choices, being able to ensure that you can say no at certain, junctures of life, and that you can say yes at, setting opportunities as well. So for me, I've done that in my journey by deciding, I'm not just going to be, I started off as a writer, I started writing, I started acting when I was, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I started off not just going to be, I started when I was 18.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the host needs to mute.
Yes, I think there's feedback coming from someone.
Might just be feedback. I think you can just talk through it. It might be okay.
Okay. So becoming, for me, or building my power, I started with being a child actor. And then I think school finished and I started going back to acting. I was going for auditions and all of that. And I just realized that we'll be outside, standing in line, waiting for the opportunity to be said yes to or no to, or to be told you're not good enough or whatever. And we did that for day in, day out. We did that for so many days in the week. Sometimes you don't get to see your family. You're coming back so late in the night because you're trying to get maybe 2 minutes on the screen. And I remember the first time I got on one of the biggest shows in Africa, Tinsel. And for me, it was like, you know what, Mama, we made it. What's bigger than this in Africa right now? And I remember sitting down one day and I watched, I think it was One Tree Hill. And I was like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not even, creating stuff at this level? And I remember I said, when I go back to Lagos after uni, I'm not going to go to any audition. I'm going to create something that will be bigger than Tinsel, which at the time was the dream for me. And I remember finishing school, graduating on the 20th. I finished my exams on the 23rd. I did my clearance on the 27th. I was out of school. I got home and I got home and my mom was like, yeah, she's back. I won't need to do anything to bother myself anymore. My little chef and bestie is home. And I'm like, I just have 5 days in this house. I'm going to Lagos to chase my dream. She's like, no. She tried to get my dad to side with her and say, I won't leave. But then I was like, no, I have so much. I feel like the world is leaving me behind. There's so much I need to do. I need to ensure that women who have the talent that I have are not sitting down, wasting away, under the sun because they want to get 5 minutes on screen. And I remember it was the 3rd of September. And I was like, ciao. And my dad said, just go, believe hard, and I got to Lagos and it was back to back since then. I've never moved back. I've never gone home. I've never, stopped chasing that dream. And, it took me, how many years in the game to set up my own production company. I've done so many collaborations now that has also helped younger women come into the business. And I'm hoping the dream for my production company, we're not hoping, we're actually working towards it, is to ensure that people like me who, by the time I was coming to Lagos, I had written 54 scripts, finished, unfinished, whether screenplays, all of that, but we were ready. It was just like, if I meet opportunity, I'm going to bombard it with preparation, because I was already prepared for what I was coming to do. And I was gaining knowledge on the go, because this is an actor who was barely getting roles here and there. And with maybe 2-3 films I had done, I'd won some of the big awards here in Nigeria. So it was almost like at each point where you dreamed, you already exceeded it before time. So what can I do next? It had to take me every single year, reimagining the dream, expanding the vision. And that was how I built, and finding people who had gone ahead to do bigger things than myself. My first mentor was a former Minister for Information. My second mentor was like the GMD West Africa of Microsoft. I wasn't looking for the next biggest actor. I was looking for someone who controlled industries and systems to show me how they did it, because I was a greenhorn coming into this big field without much experience. And to the glory of God, we're here today, and we're now on the journey of creating the opportunities for people who have scripts, who have ideas, to come into our company and say, we have this. And like a studio, like the Sonys and all that, we package the project, funding, producers, directors, actors, go on and do it. And it's part of your film, it's presented by our studio, and money comes back to you. This is something we do not even have right now. There is no studio in Nigeria that you can say that you as a single, as an individual entrepreneur filmmaker can go to and say, can you package this film? Like, I have a film, can we do it? And it's still my project, but it's presented by the studio, and the studio makes a percentage on it, but the filmmaker still owns the project. And that's what we're working towards. So I would say that that's how I've built my power, and I'm still building my power.
That was so compelling. That was fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm sorry, I missed a little bit because my network kicked me out again, but what I heard was just so inspiring.
Ijura, if you're speaking, we can hear you anymore.
It's you're on mute.
Hello, everyone. We are very, very sorry about the network issues. I would be taking it on from here. So thank you so much, Nicole, for everything you've shared, because as a young creative myself, I have a lot of things that I want to create. And I know that just starting from somewhere is what would lead me to the next step. And the story about you writing, starting from writing, and now you're actually producing movies and everything. It's such an inspiring story. So the next question I have is for Lesley. With your organization, the Pink Conference, I just wanted to ask, what role does mentorship and community play in helping women grow in confidence, wealth, and opportunity, especially from the African lens? What role does it take to be able to be an African young lady, to have a mentor that can coach you, that can inspire you to become more of yourself from your experience with your foundation, the Pink Conference?
It's on mute, Lesley.
My apologies again. So I have a few different initiatives that I do. One of them is the convening of the conference. It's called the Think Pink Women's Conference. It's a holistic approach to the woman, and we have thousands of women come on 130 acres of land that we own, and they come for 1 week. And it's a form of mentorship within itself. And then I also have the Arc of Women Leadership Institute, and that one we have documented 50,000 women since 2009. And one thing that we love to do is, as a mentor, you help people basically see what they cannot see. You allow them to see their blind spots. I know that I am a product of mentorship, even when it comes to my own biological mother. She served to me not just as a mother, but also as a mentor. So I was able to see that a mentor kind of stands over you like an eagle. They're able to see the blind spots. They're able to see certain things that you may not be able to see. They have perspective, they have exposure, and they have a different worldview than what you have. And so all of my institutions, organizations, whatever it is, we seek to allow people, and we're talking about women in governmental positions all the way down to a woman who's just trying to figure it out. We make sure that they understand emotional steadiness, emotional readiness. We allow them to understand strategic feedback, because as a mentor, you have to be able to teach people how to receive proper criticism and not just, continue doing what they want to do, or what they feel like. I'm a product of mentorship in different avenues, and I've learned that mentorship is not only your same gender, but you can have another gender as a mentor, and you can also have another color as a mentor, because if we're not careful, we keep ourselves in a box. And so what our mentorship seeks to do is to avoid the unnecessary mistakes that many women make, and also to provide a mental shift. I think being ambitious and being African is like a taboo sometimes. You cannot be an ambitious woman. At least that's what we were taught for many, many centuries. And so now we see a century of women who are breaking the mold, and they're doing unprecedented things. And so I like to give people that perspective. Like, it's okay to be ambitious and still be a good wife and a good mom. It's possible. And so that's what we provide over.
Amazing. And I'm so happy you said something that really struck me. And it's what you said about a mentor stands with you as an eagle. Oh my goodness, I could just picture that vivid image, having a mother that is standing with you, guiding you for as long as they exist, or even having somebody that you could meet in a workspace, just helping you in every way. I love that. Another thing you said that really struck to me was what you said about having a mentor beyond your gender or color. And once you said that, I said, I'm going to ask Jason a question, because it's such an interesting thing to see a man in a space that advocates for women, especially as a man that understands what it means to mentor women or have a way of advocating for women. So my question for you, Jason, is from your experience in business and economic development, what are the most effective ways in which women can build sustainable wealth in today's economy?
I think that, well, firstly, thank you for that question. So from the ways that I've been seeing more specifically in terms of economic development, I would say the creative economy. I think the creative economy now provides very low barrier to entry, but very big upside as it pertains to economic development. It gives creators opportunity to work with bigger brands. It gives an opportunity to create an entire holistic type of ecosystem so that expands beyond borders. So you'd be able to effectively grow and develop your brand, your business, and the stakeholders that are involved. We heard Nicole mention before about the importance of being a filmmaker and having those reels in place to be able to expand and work with, let's say, a distribution, but still maintain IP and ownership over a product that you created and developed. So I would say the creative economy is a fantastic way right now that we've seen through media and media services where wealth can be created, where economic development can be brought and developed from specific creators within that ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Jason, for that. And while you were speaking, I just thought about it. Every single person that has a question, in this moment, please use the question box below and ask your questions, because we would also have a session where we get to answer questions from our attendees. For now, I want to ask Adesuwa. I understand that you work in a space that is predominantly held by men. How are you able to navigate that space as not just a woman, but an African woman? And what advice would you give to an African woman listening to you today to be able to break into spaces that you don't get to see a lot of yourself? There's no representation of yourself. But how can an African woman, a modern day African woman, break into those spaces and make, bounds and leaps for herself? So that's my question for you.
Yeah, so I think it's one of really understanding the solution that you want to bring to the table, understanding what your competitive advantages are, understanding as well that it's going to be a long journey. I always say that the key to successfully being able to raise a fund in Africa is really persistence. It took me 8 years before I could successfully raise our first fund. It was a lot of no's in my face, a lot of rejection, a lot of come back when you've exited deals, come back later, you're too niche, you're too small. So to break into these spaces, it requires a level of persistence. It requires a level of grit, but it also, I think it also, requires really understanding the problem that you want to solve. And I think as women, we have a competitive advantage where our lived experience can really, give us a competitive advantage that a lot of people don't have. So it's about really owning the fact that, yes, I might be the only woman in this room, but I bring a fresh perspective that no one else has. And it's ensuring that you're not the only woman in that room for too long. What are you doing? What are you doing to ensure that you're bringing other people into the room with you? And what are you doing to make sure that you're able to influence the decision to ensure that the next woman is brought on board? So it's being prepared, being professional, building with excellence to ensure that you're always showcasing that not having women, another woman in the boardroom is a mistake. Not funding that women-owned businesses is a mistake. So it's about always bringing your best self, recognizing your competitive advantage as a woman, not seeing it as a disadvantage, but as actually seeing it as a huge competitive advantage. And also ensuring that you're able to bring other women with you, and ensure that you're creating that impact through your work. So it's definitely not easy. It's a long journey, but I think with commitment to excellence, with a spirit of resilience and grit and persistence, then nothing is impossible.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And while we're speaking, I still want to stay on you for a little bit, because there's a question I have, and it's on how does it mean, like what exactly does it mean for a woman to be able to build and access wealth in this day and age, especially as an African woman. And I know you spoke about lived experiences, and for an African woman, we might not have a lot of lived experiences and access to funding, or in a way of trying to generate or scale our businesses. So as a way to advise or to help other women get access to funding, what would be your advice to us African women in order to get grants, opportunities in this day and time?
Is that for me?
Yes. I said I would still love to stay on you, because I know that you're in the space of finance. So I just wanted to ask, in this day and age, what would it mean for an African woman to be able to get access to funding, and what key steps can she actually take in order to get there? So that's my question.
Yeah, sure. So, I think if you want to build wealth in this day and age, I think there are so many opportunities. Jason rightly mentioned one where, low barriers to entry, you can enter the creative economy. Nicole is excelling in that. So it's really understanding, what are you passionate about? What problem do you want to solve? And then being able to really reach out to your network. Reach out to your network, reach out to funds like us that are specifically looking for women. There are a number of initiatives specifically looking to invest in women, to empower women. So ensuring that you're in those circles, ensuring that you're able to, have a compelling value proposition, something that sets you apart from others, but also, be very, very knowledgeable about your subject matter as well, because sometimes, we have entrepreneurs come to us, I want to be the next, I don't know, I want to be the next, let's say, what's his name, OpenAI, Sam Altman. But then you start asking them questions and they can't really defend their business model. So it's always coming correct, coming prepared, ensuring that, you're networking to know where the right pools of capital for you are, because, there's so many initiatives now that are investing in women, wanting to find, and scale the, women entrepreneurs and women enterprises in Africa. So I would say that, if you're an entrepreneur, that's one way to do it, is, finding what is the problem that you want to solve and ensuring that you can get access to the right people that are investing in that. And then if you're, an established entrepreneur already that's looking to build wealth, I would say to start actively investing some of that wealth. I think as women, we shy away from investing. So I always encourage my friends, I always encourage my mom, my aunties, everybody around me to always put something away to start investing. We have a number of promising startups on the continent. I think that out of the 11 unicorns in Africa, 5 of them were in Nigeria. And if you look at the cap tables and the shareholders of those unicorns, we don't see enough women on them. So why are the men the ones that are investing in the billion-dollar companies, and us as women are sitting on the sidelines? So I would say that start actively saving, start actively investing, start actively diversifying your portfolio. Maybe you put some money into real estate, maybe you put some money into fixed income, maybe you put some money into alternative assets. Start looking for angel investments in tech startups. Start looking to actually diversify your portfolio rather than just having cash sitting down. As women, we don't talk about money enough. We don't talk about investing enough. So I think start getting knowledgeable about how do I build a portfolio? How do I think about putting money aside every month to go into an investment pool? The men do this all the time, but as women, we don't talk about it. So I would say that, that would be my advice to, maybe not the women that are starting out who are still trying to build their, career and their, and their business, because you're in the building phase. But for those that have some extra money to put aside, start thinking about how do you diversify your portfolio, because that's really how you build wealth. You need to invest. You can't build wealth by having money under your mattress or having money, just sitting in a bank account, generating interest. You need to invest your capital. You need to put your capital at risk. If your capital is not at risk, it's of no use to you. You're not going to build wealth in that way. So that is also my advice to women that are listening on this call, is to get knowledgeable on investing. Join angel investing groups, join angel investing clubs. There are a number of them now in Nigeria that are specifically focused on women. Shout out to Rising Tide Africa. Shout out to Gaia Africa. Their women are coming together to build wealth together. So get knowledgeable on that and don't be afraid to put your capital at risk. The men have been doing this for centuries. So that would be my next piece of advice.
That was amazing. While you were talking, I was taking everything down. And I just want to say that to everyone listening, in case you didn't hear her, these are the few things that she said. I mean, there are a lot, but these are some of the things that you can do to be able to scale. So you have to be knowledgeable in your field. You have to start investing. She even gave us a few of them, find angel investors and find funders like Aruwa Capital that she founded, and also reach out to compelling value propositions and find out the problem in which you want to solve. So these are key things that would actually help you. And I hope that everyone took notes during this, during her session, because everything I had to put it down. Okay, so for my next question, I'm going to go over to Lesley. What steps would you encourage a woman to take towards building her power in this day and age? From your own experiences, feel free to tell us about stories and how, even with your own life, how you've been able to build your own power, build your own portfolio and platform, and how you would encourage an African woman in this day and age to build hers.
Well, I would say that when it comes to me building my portfolio, I know we've mentioned various ways, but I don't know if anyone mentioned real estate, and that's what I'm very keen into real estate, and I believe our portfolio spans over millions. And what we've done is we have diversified our real estate in about 6 different countries or so. And land will always appreciate no matter what is going on. And so when it comes to building power, one of the things that I personally have done is, again, investing, understanding where and when to invest. And as Adesuwa rightfully said, you have to put your money in a place that is willing to grow. Many people think that just having a savings account is it. No, you don't build wealth in a savings account. You build wealth by investing, and one of them is real estate, the creator economy, the educational economy, the farming economy. We also have a farm as well. And so you got to learn how to diversify all your monies. If you don't learn how to do that, you cannot. And you got to learn how to collect data as well, too. Every time I tell people that we've been able to impact 50,000 people, they're looking at me like, girl, how? Because since 2009, I've literally been documenting. I've always taken surveys because data is the new oil. You got to know where the money is at. You have to know who the people are, and you have to understand your infrastructure and your systems. And that is how we build. And so I've been able to build, by the grace and mercies of God, a system where I know the audience. I understand the way that the world is turning. And you got to be able to pivot, especially right now that the airspace is a little shaky and the Middle East is going through these things. This is an opportunity for every single entrepreneur to find out exactly where do I step in? Where do I come in? And I'll share that even when it comes to Ghana, right now, I realized that a lot of our medical equipment was coming out of the Middle East, believe it or not. And so with the mindset of building power, now I'm like, let me step in and try to get a contract where I can now be able to get those hospital equipment that were coming from the Middle East. How can I be able to tap into that market? So you have to really sit down, and as cliche as it sounds, you got to center yourself and find out where can I tap in? Where am I most passionate about as well, too? I've always been in the healthcare sector. And so that was easy. When I saw that the airspace, I saw Middle East, I'm like, I know exactly where to go. And so right now I'm looking into it. I'm trying to find the contracts. I'm talking to the people that are needed. Building your power, you got to first sit down and figure out who you are in the first place. Because you can't be doing 10,000 things and you're a master of nothing. And that's where many people fail. You cannot just be all over the place. You are called for many things, but you got to be able to focus and hone in. As she rightfully said, when people come to get money and you start asking the big questions, you realize they don't really know as much as they put on the facade of knowing. And so I think building your power is not only creating community, but also finding out who exactly you are as well, too. So,
if I can chime in real quickly, I know there are a lot of people, and thank you for that, Lesley. There are a lot of young people on this call right now, and they're taking the advice of Lesley and Adesuwa and wanting to get into investing. I just wanted to say a quick thing. I think one of the most key and instrumental things that are going to turn for young people in the continent is financial inclusion and financial literacy. So when you look at investing and you're hearing all these big words that sound intimidating flying around, I think the hardest part is just going to take the first step. It's not as complicated as one might think. I think what will really help if you're looking at investing, and I think everybody on this call should be investing, is to look at the easiest path to entry, which might be an exchange traded fund or any kind of fund that has a basket of stocks contained with it, because it'll allow you to get exposure to the market. So to piggyback up what Lesley was saying is not to make it too difficult for yourself and not try to chase too many things, but to center yourself, do the due diligence and find ways that you can get into the market and start to invest at an incremental level while you're also building your knowledge and not trying to make it too complicated. Just wanted to chime in and add that, but thank you for leading that, Lesley.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lesley. Thank you so much, Jason. That's so important. One thing I got from this, and I hope everybody's taking notes, is invest, invest, invest. Your savings account is not only the way to invest, it's not even a proper way to save. You have to put your money in things. Real estate that Lesley mentioned is key, So these are some things that we should be taking out of here. And I'm just going to go to the question box and ask one question. Somebody here called Dr. Zhu Makamba, thank you so much for joining in. He said, this is a very insightful decision. My question is, how can I be able to access good quality mentors that are in the spaces that seem quite inaccessible? So looking at the portfolio in which we have in the room, I'm going to be asking Lesley, and I'm also going to be asking Adesuwa this question. So for Dr. Nakamba, what would be your advice to him? He's asking, how can he access good quality mentors that in spaces in which they are not accessible? Hi, Lesley, you're muted.
I was trying to give the floor to her to speak, but I think she's frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When it comes to access, I think we underestimate the power of shared learning. It's important to be in proper communities. It's important to have access to people who just have at least basic knowledge. Platforms like this are very, very good because now you know, okay, this is someone who's actually in it. Now, as you're following that person, even online, you get to see even their network, where they're going. And I call something doom scrolling, and then I call something power scrolling, even online. We tend to doom scroll a lot. We are just looking at the latest lace. We're looking at the newest hairstyles. We're looking at all that's doom scrolling, because what exactly are you gaining from it? But when you power scroll, even online, what I do every couple of days, I go on my algorithm. They have a space on Instagram and on Facebook where you can change your algorithm. And so my algorithm is talking about the United Nations. I'm talking about political shifts, geopolitical shifts. I'm talking about investments. And so all of that, I get to see who the change makers are, and I'm following them. And that shared knowledge, I have easy access to it, because sometimes we think someone has to be on a phone call with us for 6 and 7 hours, literally pouring. No, times have changed. There is access to different people that you can learn from afar. And you'd be surprised that the more access you have online, that will now pivot you into exactly where you need to go and the spaces that you need to join as well too. So I think it starts from a simple and easy way is not to doom scroll. Go online and start to search what you want to see. You want to see more investments? Go and find out who the change makers are. Go and find out who the heavy hitters are in that, and just simply follow them. They have content, they have people that they speak to, they have events that they go to, and that all expands you. And then I'll leave you with also, what I do is I go on websites and I sign up for their newsletters, because I don't want newsletters of just Shein, and I don't want newsletters of just random things. I want to have newsletters coming in that tells me what is happening in the world that I want to be a part of. And so I think that's the easiest way, because we're so hell bent on looking for just one person to sit us down. Any change maker doesn't have 10 hours to sit down and pour out to you. That's just the reality of it. So you got to find new innovative ways. And I think power scrolling and getting power emails are a perfect way to start.
Amazing. So guys, if you heard her right, she said, no more doom scrolling, more power scrolling. Okay, so I have one question in here for Nicole, and it's from Chiamaka Odachi. She says, what is the best way to approach and build a mentorship relationship and connection from scratch with someone you admire, especially when you have no prior connection? So from your experience in the entertainment industry, there are people that others admire or want to be in their spaces. What is the best approach to build a mentorship relationship with people that you currently aspire as a young African, or anybody on this call listening?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that question, Chamaka. And it's very valid because there are times when, there are people who you want to be like, or you feel like they've gone ahead to do the things that you want to do and you'd really like to learn at their feet. I say the same thing on every stage. What value do you bring to them? That's the truth. Like Lesley said, there's no change maker that will really have 10 hours of their time to give you and you're not bringing anything valuable. Let's even use, I'm a Christian. My husband is a pastor actually. So let me at least share from where my convictions stem from. Think of it in the Bible. Everyone who did significant things, who made significant changes, was offering something, especially the ones who went from the back to the forefront. Think about Joseph going from prison to palace. He was interpreting somebody's dream. Let's think of it. It didn't stop at just knowing what the meaning of the king's dream was. It went on to giving strategy. And that was where the king saw value and he said, this one is not leaving my sight. Think of every single person that God used in the Bible. They were people who were delivering. They had something. There was something they were good at. There was something that you could hold and say, this one has honed this, and God built on that. Even when he was sending Moses said, oh, I'm a stammerer. I can't move. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't talk. And he said, what is in your hand? And it was a staff. And that was what he used. So just think of mentorship in the same way. Somebody once told me something. He said that our relationship with God is almost like the mentorship thing where he will advise you, he'll give you suggestions, and he will not force you. He has mentored you on the path to take, but whichever one you take, he has 16 different, options on how to, you still kind of fall into his plan. So think about the same thing. When you have a mentor, it may not exactly be somebody, or when you want someone to mentor, it may not be somebody who's exactly smack in your line of work, because sometimes that's also a mistake that we make. We're looking for someone who's doing exactly what we want to do. The truth is that where you might need a mentor is in a place that you are not so great at. So for me, I might not need a writing mentor because it comes to me with the greatest ease, but I may need somebody who will work on proficiency and efficiency, that I can write and finish in 2 weeks rather than in a year, because I'm being overly critical and I'm trashing my copies over and over again. So you may also be like, for me, when I was coming, I was looking for people who had experience of, proper structure, 9 to 5, or they've been leaders in one way or the other. And I felt like this was somewhere that I was failing or lacking in so much experience, coming straight out of university and coming to Lagos to build something. That was what I needed. That was where I needed help and mentorship. So I was looking for those kinds of people. And when I found them, I didn't come saying, please, sir, mentor me, or please, ma. I said, I'm building this. And if you buy into this vision, this and this is what it can do. And while I'm doing that, I'm very proficient in communications. I have done research and I've seen that your communication is lacking in this. Maybe if we do some agenda setting here and we do some top of the mind PR here, and we do, we apply some hypodermic needle strategy to your persona, you're going to get XYZ results. I studied communication. I knew all the jargon. I had a bit of, experience from my IT and stuff on how to build those kinds of things. And these people are so busy. Sometimes they're not even looking at what their public, image or public communication is at the time. And you come here with this value to give. Okay, sure thing. And the truth is that in the service of that king, in the service of that queen, in the service of that leader, that person who has gone ahead of you, you're going to be learning. The first time I started working with my first mentor, my straight out of uni, my official emails were like heartfelt conversations. They were so emotionally driven. Like, I'm doing this, I'm going to be this, and it's good. And he's like, no, be very apt. Introduce yourself, say the what, say the why, and end it there. Put your ask. And within a month of doing emails for things he needed me to do, I got great and writing professional emails. So I'm just giving this as an example that sometimes mentorship is not just looking for somebody that will tell you how to become what you want to become, but is using your capacity, using your gifts, your skills to serve someone who has gone ahead of you and glean from them, learn from them, sit at their feet. If you remember, what Jesus did, I would always go back to my convictions. What Jesus did in his time was disciple people. He didn't even come and start sitting down and teaching them the word, this and that and that. He called them, leave what you're doing and come. Oh, you're good at catching fish, come and catch men with me. And as they walked with him, they saw the things he did. He never told them, stand up now, I'm going to give you a lesson on healing. Lay hands, do this, do that. They watched him do it and they tried to do it. So most times mentorship can come from just looking at the person doing what it is that you want to be able to do. So how do you get those people's attention? The easiest way is really saying, how can I serve your cause? Because I know that sitting at your feet, I will gain more than just from my mentors, attending meetings with them. That's how I met some of the greatest heads of industries that I met. I didn't beg anybody to introduce me to anybody. My first film funding came from accompanying my mentor to one meeting and not knowing that it was the CFO of a bank that we were sitting with. And at the end of the meeting, he asked me to introduce myself, and I introduced myself and I told him a little bit of what I was doing because, of course, I've seen my mentor talk about his projects and I know how he does it. So I introduced myself and spoke a bit about what I was doing. And the man said, this is powerful. I'd like to have a meeting with you. Meet me on so day. And I reached out, we had the meeting, and I got my first millions to do my first short film. I didn't shoot my first short film on bootstrap budget. It was like I was living the life. People were like they were on holiday on my first short film. And that was what serving another person gave me access to. So I hope this helps you. But without taking much time, I wanted to add to what everybody had spoken about as it regards investing, because we've gotten a lot of advice especially for people who kind of have money to invest, who are at a level, and Adesuwa mentioned it. She said, if you're just building, look, maybe it's not yet time to invest, but once you have money, then invest. I also want to advise you something that my mentor advised me about, and something that I saw, an advice I got from my mentor, and something that I also saw people do. Don't wait till you're a millionaire. Don't wait till you have every amount, that amount of wealth at your disposal. The little you have, if you've done a job and you were paid $100 and you have a system that works with your finance. 10% goes to tithing, 10% goes to this, 20% goes to feeding. I need another 20% to get me around for the month. I always have spare 20-30% of this at the end of the month. If you have 10% of that and you say that that's what you have to invest in, please look for anybody. It can be someone in your church that has a YouTube channel and does random films, and you're saying, look, if I give you $200, which I've saved across the last 3 months, and you put it in your project, what can I get back in 6 months? It's as little as that. Don't wait till you have the full picture. My company is called HB&Q Impressions. It stands for half a buck and a dollar impressions. It's $0.75. It means that we have never had the full picture, all the funding that we needed to be able to start whatever we started. So you don't need to get the full picture before you make huge impressions. Start little. Don't wait till you can do it alone. Look for someone who's already doing it and add to that person's journey, finding ways to earn back from the seeds they have sown. There's a scripture that says that you own houses you didn't build and cars you didn't buy, stuff like that, right? So even for someone who has a farm, I have a friend who has a farm now and he has acres, and I'm saying, please if I give you this $1,000, this amount of dollars, what can it do for me in 6 months? It may not be everything because most of my money is put into the 2 films I've done. But you see now that maybe I did a consulting job and I was paid this amount and I've paid my bills and I have something left somewhere. Please, where can we put that into? That's what you need to be looking at now at your level if you don't have that expense of capital to invest. And then yeah, basically the investments part answers the other thing that I had put down to share on that.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you so much for that. That was incredible. And I know that Chiamaka has really taken notes from everything that you said. And even me, like me sitting here, I've just been soaking it all in. That was incredible. Thank you so much for pouring into me and into everyone in this room. So for one of our last questions here, I think it's because of the comment in which Lesley made about real estate. Somebody says, how can I get into real estate investing in the US with $20,000? So this is a very practical and real question. The person says, this is what I have. How can I get into real estate? And I'm going to give the floor to Lesley. I'm also going to give the floor to Jason to speak on this. But Lesley, please, you go first on this question.
America is known or coined to be the land of opportunity. Whether that's true or not, that's debatable. But I will say that when it comes to being in America, it's quite different from when you are in Africa. America, you can have real estate with $20,000, but that comes with a lot of loans and it comes with a lot of paperwork. And it comes with a lot of having to bend. And so in as easy as it is, it's also hard. But what I will say is when it comes to real estate, I've learned, because I didn't come from any money. My husband didn't come from any money as well, too. But one thing that the Jewish people do is that they will buy even a land or a building that looks crazy, and they'll let it sit there. They'll let it sit there until the whole community begins to develop. And then now they have enough reason to go out and get a loan that they know that they will get that money back in return. And so many times when you are trying to get real estate in America in particular, there are so many different types of programs that you can enter. First time homeowners program. There are areas where they are desolate enough for you to get a house at even $15. Honestly, it'll be horrible, but you can get that piece of land and let it sit like the Jewish people and let the land appreciate as there is gentrification, which is the turning over of a community. You can also get into investments of buildings as well too. Some people, let's say I have a big apartment building with 100 units and I want to buy it. I can tell you that if you give me your 20,000, I can give you about 2 different units where you'll make money from. So those are all different ways that you can acquire real estate here in America. And I'm sure Jason will have other ways as well too. So.
Yeah, I'm not the real estate expert, but there are a couple of things that came to mind. Firstly, if you have a fixed amount of capital that you like to allocate into real estate, there are 2 things that came to mind for me. One is through the capital market. So there's a such thing called a REIT, which is a basket, again, of real estate that you can invest in. So that may be a quicker entry into investing into real estate. And if, as Lesley mentioned, that may not be a significant amount as it pertains to having to acquire much more of a loan to be able to acquire property. This next part taps into some of the themes that we were speaking about earlier on in the call, which is unity and utilization of a network and having a mentor. So the way I see it is, if you have 20,000, I would then begin to speak to other people who are also like-minded and want to invest in real estate, but don't necessarily have all the funds to purchase the kind of real estate that they want in the States. So if you have 20,000 and you have a friend who has 20,000 and that friend who has another friend has 20,000, you now increase your purchasing power. So I would say this, I would say, look for people who are like-minded, pool resources, and invest that way. You also minimize your risk and your downside. And if it's something that you want to do alone and you may not have the full financial capacity to make the type of investment that you want, I would say look at a REIT, which gives you the opportunity to invest in a pool of real estates.
So we're going to be wrapping up shortly, but before we go, I just want to say to every single one here, in one word or in a sentence, for everyone listening here today, when they say building her power, what should everyone here today take home with them? When they hear the word building her power, what should every listener, every woman in this room take home today, starting with Adesuwa?
Okay, thank you. So I would say stop asking for permission, bet on yourself, and own your space, and move with excellence. That would be my kind of call to action for the women on the call.
Jason, would you want to tell us in one word or in a sentence, what does building her power mean to any woman listening on this call today?
I would say building power means, for women on the call or women across the continent, just making sure women are in positions where they can make decisions, access capital, and actually influence outcomes. And for the men who are joining, if I can speak to that for a second, personally, on a personal level, I sit on the board for Women of the Future. I also sit on the board for Women's Empowerment Initiative. And as a company, our board of advisors are all female. So if there are men out there who are on this call who are listening, I think building power comes from not being performative and not doing it for optics, but to really influence and to really support and to really mentor women who have a chance to realize their dreams and make a positive impact.
Thank you so much for that, Jason. Lesley, over to you. In one word or in a sentence, what does building a power, what should it mean for any woman or every woman in this room today?
I would say it means moving from participation to possession. It means getting from asking for permission to creating those tables, building your power. Again, I am a pastor. So as Nicole rightfully said, we stand in our convictions. Building your power ultimately is knowing who you are in Christ and being able to walk in that which God has called you to walk in. And having generational influence. I think generational influence is very underestimated, but when you build with the future in mind, you build well. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah. So I guess that leaves me. I just go then, right? So we don't hold people down for too long. I think for me, it's believing in what you stand for and believing without anybody being able to convince you otherwise that you can become everything you set your mind to becoming. Consistently, adamantly not taking no for an answer or not accepting failure, taking every single failure as a lesson, everything that seems like a no as a maybe, and just working so hard at your name, your person, your brand, working so hard at it that other people can take your name to the bank and it will open doors for them. Just ensuring that your name, your person is a door opener, holds the door open for other people who are coming behind you. That will be it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So some of the notes I did take here while you guys were speaking, and this is for our audience listening, was stop asking for permission. Make sure women are making decisions. And that was from Jason. And he said, for the men listening on the call, do not be performative. Do it just because you need to see more women in the room. And then from Lesley, she said, know who you are in Christ. And from our very own Nicole, she said, don't take no for an answer and work really hard. So thank you so much to the facilitators and all those that joined this call. We are so happy that we got a chance to do this for International Women's Month. And we also have a new initiative called the Elevate Africa Connect, in which it's going to be a community where our audiences, people already listening in, can communicate with one another. We want to get to engage with you in ways like this and more. So thank you so much, Nicole Ndigwe. Thank you so much, Jason Cook. Thank you so much, Pastor Lesley Osei. Thank you, Adesuwa, Okunbo, Rhodes. This was incredible. And I hope everyone has an amazing evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.